So really I want to give you like a beginner's code, what you're going to do as you kind of open up Stata and you want to program either through the TV window or through the do file, okay? So step one will always be to load the data. Load the data set. Okay, that's going to be the step one. Now, let's look at how that's going to happen in code. So let's say here in code. Generally, the way I'm going to load the data, I can point and click, but that's not the advantage of Stata. The advantage of Stata that I can make everything into a code would be use. And here I'd have the file path. File path in this particular bit, right? What's happening when you load the data in the background, there's something that's worth kind of talking about, is that in the background, when the data is loaded, Stata makes a copy of your data set. Okay, so differently from Excel, in Excel you open up an Excel file, you're changing stuff in Excel, you're changing the file. Okay, what Stata does in the background a copy of the file is created, and this is your working directory. Okay, so it's like your working data set. Let's not call it working directory, actually. It might be a bit misleading. It's the working data set. Okay, step two is you might want to manipulate this data set or clean this data set. So you want to manipulate the data set. Okay, want to manipulate the data set. And the way you would do this, there's multiple things that you might want to manipulate. Okay, one possible way is that you might want to rename a particular variable. So for example, you might say rename old name, new name. Okay, that's one thing that I might want to do. I might want to drop certain observations. I might want to keep only certain variables. I might want to do all sorts of things with the data, okay? But for now, I'm just going to leave it as just manipulating on the data. What's happening on the background? The working data set is being edited, okay? If you were to close the data set, if you were to close the program at this stage and not save anything, nothing will be changed from your original data set, okay? So step three is usually to save your work. Save your work as a new data set. So what you might want to do is at the very end, do something like save file path, and that would save that particular file in the location that you want. Okay, so that's the simplest structure of a Stata code. Okay, so you would load the data, you do certain manipulation of that data, and then you will save that data set. Generally, you don't want to override your initial data set because you might realize that, I needed a data point that I dropped, or I needed a variable that I dropped. So generally, you will create these new variables. Okay, so this gives you a structure of the simplest code that you can run on Stata.